Hey guys, it's Amay, and this is going to be a short video actually, but an interesting one, a sort of parable that I will tell you that relates to the craving of the soul, the craving and of the consciousness of the higher self, and the need on occasion for a little bit of isolation or solitude, and how it's innate in all of us in, in the same manner as it is to want to connect with others, right? It's just different elements of consciousness that we must nurture, and that helps expand and exalt our consciousness. And so this little story I'm going to tell you in a way that helps you understand it. So there's a little girl, and this is in the 1940s, and let's say 1930s or 40s, and she lives with her parents, and she's maybe 6 or 7. So she's very close to her parents. This is back when families were tight and connected, and it was just a completely different dimension. So anyway, she's very close to her mother, and then one day she gets up for breakfast and she sees a note on the table. And the note says only this: going to see a man about a dog. Then her father walks in and takes the note, and he looks as though he understands the note and gives a little smirk, not upset. Of course, the little girl is unbelievably upset. Where is her breakfast? Where is her mother? What's going on here? What, are we getting a dog? I'm so confused. And so the father says, "Don't worry, she'll be back." So the weekend drags on for the little girl, and then finally Friday turns into Saturday, and then Sunday, and then arrives mommy. Pulls up, right? There's no dog. So then, and it's a great celebratory exchange. Mother's home, everyone's happy, time to go back to coloring books, and resumes normal once again. So then a couple more weeks go by, maybe a couple weeks, maybe even a month, and then little girl wakes up for her breakfast again. Once again, it's on a Friday. Another note: going to see a man about a dog. What? Well, we didn't even get a dog last time. What is this about? So then father reads the note. Same scenario again. Couple days pass by. Saturday turns into Sunday. Here comes mommy pulling up. All is normal. Daddy's happy. Everything's great. Everything's understood on a level in which the child does not understand at this time. So this continues on for not even weeks or months, but it goes into years as the little girl gets older. She always sees this note. She always sees an understanding between her parents. And this was a time when children greatly respected their parents. So there was no questioning of where was mom really going. Was she having an affair? Was she going to off with friends, riding on jet skis, having fun? Was she going dancing late into the hours? And come to find out, and here I'll wrap it up, but come to find out, where mom was really going was just for mere solitude. She would actually rent a hotel room in their own little town, only minutes away, but completely to herself. Take a bubble bath, read her favorite books, write in her journal, maybe do some sketching. Do you know what I mean? Have a glass of wine at sunset. Everything was to cater to her soul, to her consciousness, to elevate with the aid of solitude. Solitude, soul, sun, solitude, soliloquy, your own private conversation, right? As in Shakespearean terms, like a monologue, moon. Soul and sun, moon is, these are the two hemispheres of the brain, which are our direct, the brain is our direct access to the conduit, to the consciousness, to the constellations, to advanced states of consciousness. And what that requires on occasion is to go see a man about a dog. Of course, there is greater meaning behind this, right? And this is why I'm explaining this to you. But the essence of this whole little video is just to illustrate that we all need sometimes to go see a man about a dog. And in that sense, if you need to write that out, whether it's you live with roommates, you live with your husband, you live with your wife, how, I don't know, how busy is it? Maybe you even live alone. But sometimes you need an escapade. You need to escape. And as someone who has flown literally all over the world, when I say someone, meaning this, the self, my avatar, the EYE, I have lived in other countries. I've lived abroad. I've traveled abroad. I even have a house abroad. And there's something really that quenches that thirst of the soul to escape, right? Now, in the modern day sense in which we reside now, in this dimension, that could mean vacation and a cruise full of a buffet and overstuffing yourself and all, and requirements of other guests on vacation, your partners, your travel partners, right? Your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your friends, your best friends, your aunt, whoever you're traveling with, there's always a level of compromise. So when I flew for years, in private jet flying, and I would be the only cabin crew. I'm the purser. Do you know what I mean? So I'm in charge of the whole galley and cabin, and I didn't have partners like you would see like on the big 777s and on the big commercial airliners. In private jets, it's typically only you've got one attendant, and I actually believe they like it that way due to discretion, and they usually have nannies or assistants and their entourage. So, but I'm in charge of the whole back end of the plane and midsection. Although I would spend a lot of time in the cockpit or the flight deck because that's another element, and that's a whole other story. And where I'm going with this is that having that solo flying, that very, if we look at it in astrological terms, that air experience that is part of my chart and my pattern, which I always tell you guys, it's so important and crucial for you to know your angles and patterns. This is your script, your manuscript, so to speak, okay? If you don't know it, how do you truly know that higher layer of consciousness, that super self in which you are, if you don't know that? It's just part of the being lost, right? In this matrix, in this grid, right? That we're all trying to connect with and remove from the more artificial, the more meaningless, artificial traps or hooks that are all around us, right? So we're trying to escape and fly, right? In a sense of elevating consciousness. So what that requires is solitude, and going to see a man about a dog. Whoever you are, even if you live alone. Because as I was saying, the solo flying in which I experienced for so many years really did quench that thirst. It really did help those cravings needed. Whether you have a notebook and pen in hand or your favorite book, and there's always tons of reading, for me, whatever it is, it's your own, and no one can interfere with that. Interfere, right? So it's so precious and special and necessary. It's absolutely necessary. And only if it's for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. But that is the takeaway from this little story that I wanted to tell you. And I have more to speak on that, and especially in connection with the analog and the return to the analog, which is what we need. And that's one reason why I created this story. Actually, it was a result of a conversation with a friend, but I created this story in an effort to, or I illustrated it this way from the past to help you better understand, as that's a more nostalgic time. You know, would we even think for a moment about the analog time frame? It shifts our soul and our thinking into something that is more human, that we can connect and resonate with, and which we desire at the highest levels, this need to reconnect to the real self and to other humans without the interference of the chronology, aka technology. So, the takeaway from that story, Going to See a Man About a Dog, is that whoever you are, whatever your station in life, wherever you are, you at times need to escape and go see a man about a dog, and it is completely alone. You can't go see a man about a dog with anyone else. It's your soul, your consciousness, your experience, your time for the me path, not the empath, the me path. And it's not selfish in any way. It is a requirement for you. You cannot advance out of this system, the lower dimensions of the mind, who are always tantalizing you, always trying to get your attention. You cannot advance without going to see a man about a dog. And I have more on that subject soon to come. I'm actually, side note, I'm in Alabama at the moment, and I'll be in New Orleans in a couple of days. And that's always fun at my house there, because that's when I go see a man about a dog. So I will certainly be in my element and bring more more creative and unique concepts into your energy field. Okay? And I hope everyone has a beautiful weekend. I love to see your comments. I think you're all brilliant. Thanks. Thanks so much for listening.